This is a special podcast episode. Dr. Jacob Norberg from the German Language and Literature Department at Duke University has asked us to produce an audio-only syllabus and course overview for his students who are blind or have limited vision. So, what better place to create an audio syllabus than a podcast? With Dr. Norberg and his assistant Cinderella in the studio today to discuss his new course, Fairy Tales from Grimm's to Disney. So before we bring out our special guests, here's a bit of background information about Grimm's fairy tales. Long before smartphones, theater, or glowing screens, stories flickered to the light of fires. People told stories into the night, weaving, remembering, and reshaping to create new life lessons. The stories brought warmth, they soothed, they delighted, and endured, passing lessons from one generation to the next. Dr. Norberg's new course, Fairy Tales from Grimm to Disney, opens the door to one of humanity's oldest storytelling traditions. His class is more than just children's tales. It is a journey through culture, psychology, history, fear, beauty, and imagination, told through stories you may think you know from your childhood or watching Disney films. But trust me, the real stories are still waiting to surprise you. Now, Dr. Norberg and Cinderella, welcome to Timelines. Let me start with you, Dr. Norberg. Now tell me what the course is all about. Why should students sign up for your course, and what will they expect?
Thank you, Bill, for taking on this assignment and having us on your podcast. I appreciate it very much.
I do too. I appreciate it greatly as well. It's fun not to be in the fairy tale and actually be on your podcast. It is a pleasure to be here. Great to be out. And thank you, Dr. Norberg, for bringing me today.
It is so nice to have you in studio, but now let's get back to what your course is all about in your words so those students can figure out if they want to sign up for your course.
Of course, we're going to look into the stories of Cinderella, Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, all those fairy tales we're studying. We will examine why they survive to the present day, what their hidden meanings are, and how we can interpret them ourselves. Both the Brothers of Grimm's and their origins and evolution to the modern day. Those are the types of things we will look at. Now I'm going to hand the discussion over to Cinderella. Will you please explain the course objectives?
Okay. Some of the course objectives are to examine the origins of fairy tales and how they've been shaped by history. How are fairy tales composed or structured? What do they seek to tell us? What ideas do they have? My fairy tale is the best by far because Disney loves me.
You know, Cinderella, it's great to have you in the studio today. Dr. Norberg, what if we just have Cinderella tell her story? And I know it's a long story. But tell her story. How did she meet Prince Charming and get married? It's an incredible story. Cinderella, so do you think you can do that and sort of just summarize your story in a couple minutes?
Oh, certainly I can. So, here's my story. There I was. My mom had passed away. My dad had remarried. And I had two stepsisters who were just terrible to me. They made me do all the work.
Ugh.
And then my dad passed away. And it got really bad. One day, the king announced that he would seek a wife for his son, the prince.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All fine women in the township shall come to the ball to meet my son and dance with him, so he may find a wife.
So my stepmom, of course, wanted one of her daughters to marry the prince. She did everything she could to prevent me from going. She gave me many tasks, but I finished those tasks, but then they scoffed at me because I had no dress, no clothes. So I wept with my animal friends. And then, fairy godmother appeared.
Your fairy godmother represents hope. Is that right?
That is right. She gave me hope.
What happened next?
So with a wave of her wand, my fairy godmother turned a pumpkin into a coach, and my clothes into a marvelous dress, and my shoes into glass slippers. I was on my way to the ball to meet the prince. But she warned me.
Leave the ball before midnight. because everything will disappear.
I arrived at the ball, and, to my surprise, the prince asked me to dance, and we danced all night. He couldn't keep his eyes off me, and I kept on dancing and dancing, and then I realized it was midnight. I ran. I had to run away from the prince. One of my glass slippers fell off my foot while I was fleeing.
The next day, the prince announced that whoever fits this slipper will be my wife. Girl after girl in the village tried on the slipper, but it would not fit. You know, there is a lesson here. For example, all these women were trying on this slipper, and they all knew that it was not their slipper. Only Cinderella would fit into that slipper.
Then the prince came to my home. And wouldn't you know it, my stepmother said,
Only the maid lives here.
and she was talking about me. But the prince said,
Let me see her.
so the prince pulled out a glass slipper and he knelt before me. He slipped on the slipper and it fit perfectly. When the slipper fit, he yelled,
It's my bride. It's my princess.
and we both got married the next day, and we lived happily ever after.
Cinderella, that's one heck of a story. Now, Dr. Norberg, is there anything you want to add to that? For example, what would you say is the moral to the story?
The story of Cinderella offers several lessons, and we'll unpack them throughout this course. At the surface, it teaches us not to lose hope and reminds us that goodness can be rewarded. But that's only the beginning. If we look more closely, Cinderella isn't just waiting to be saved. She's proactive. She wants more from her life. She chooses to pursue the opportunity to attend the ball, to step beyond her circumstances, and to take a risk. That matters. This story isn't simply a pleasant fairy tale with a happy ending. It's about agency. It's about opportunity. It's about resilience and moral choice. And those deeper themes are exactly what we'll explore, not just in Cinderella, but across many of the Grimm brothers' stories we'll study together. So if you think fairy tales are simple or childish, this course will challenge that assumption. There's far more beneath the surface, and I invite you to discover it with us. And with that, Bill, could you walk us through the course assignments, the weekly schedule, and share a bit about what students can expect this term?
Certainly, Professor.
As for grades, 30% will be tests, 15% will be group projects, 40% will be the paper, and 15% will be the final assignment. In the first 3 weeks, we will explore specific fairy tales, which I will announce as they arise. Then in week 4, we'll ask the question, what is a fairy tale, and what are the genres? In week 5, we'll examine beauty and splendor and horror and violence. In week 6, your first paper will be due, and we'll also look at the wonders of the forest and the environment. In week 7, we'll examine historical background, folklore, culture, and identity in the Romantic era. Then we'll have another test, and then in week 8, the Brothers Grimm and literature for children in week 9. In week 9, we'll examine fairy tales, psychology, and interpretation, which are particularly interesting to me. We have spring break coming up, but before we take it, we'll take a test. Then in week 10, we'll examine approaches to fairy tales and their fundamental structure. Week 11, approaches to fairy tales and copyright. So, what are the copyrights? These are very old fairy tales. Are there any copyrights? Did Disney copyright? Or create new interpretations? Are they copyrighted? Then in week 12, we'll discuss literary fairy tales. H.C. Andersen and your paper will be due. Then, in weeks 13 and 14, we'll talk about contemporary fairy tales and we'll peer into Disney's versions of the fairy tales. Finally, take the final test!
So if you're like me and you're going to sign up, I will see you at the course. This podcast will also be up on SoundCloud per Dr. Norberg's request, and it'll be on our normal channels in Apple, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for listening in to Timelines of Success.